Welcome to the Society. I'm Undead War Chief.
And I'm a grave crawler.
Today on Deck Tech,
We're deck teching zombies.
alright, let's get to it.
The zombies are everywhere. They're gonna destroy us all. So let's have some fun with it. So we go with one planeswalker in this deck. Liliana, the Last Hope. Her flavor is awesome. She works really well with the concept of this deck, which is just an overwhelming horde of zombies that come and destroy everything in their wake. Her three abilities are great. Her first one, nice and simple. You get some targeted removal in a way, -2/-1, so you can kill some weaker creatures, or just make some of their stronger creatures a little bit weaker so your zombies can take them out. Her second ability is also pretty damn good. You can put the top two cards of your library into the graveyard and return any creature from your graveyard to your hand. And due to the fact that there's a lot of things in this deck that allow you to bring zombies back, and a lot of zombies in this deck, there's a good chance the two cards you put in your graveyard will come back to you. And then her final ability is insane. You get that off, and you just have a constant horde of zombies coming out, and they will very quickly overwhelm your opponent. Plus, she's super cheap. She only costs 3 mana to play, and with Dark Ritual in this deck, you can get her out turn 1.
And what are the zombies Liliana gets to control, you ask? Well, great question. Well, it starts right here with Gravecrawler. We run 3 of these. This is a perfect 1-drop zombie. It's a 2/1. Can't block, but can be played directly from the graveyard. Works really great with Liliana's ability, as well as other zombie abilities you'll see. The best thing about Gravecrawler is it's a relentless threat that will keep your opponents on edge throughout the entire game. And speaking of relentless threat, let's talk about Relentless Dead. We run 2 of these. This is another fantastic zombie. 2/2 for 2, with Menace. But if it wasn't good enough there, let's talk about its abilities. You can pay 1 black and bring it back to your hand if it were to die, so that you have an opportunity to play it again in the future. But more importantly, you could pay X, where X is the converted mana cost of a zombie in your graveyard, and return the zombie directly to the battlefield if your Relentless Dead were to die. This makes any zombie in your graveyard a potential threat as long as a Relentless Dead is on the board. Next on the docket, we have Gempalm Polluter. We run 2 of these. This is definitely a late game zombie if you're going to play him as a zombie. I think his true power lies in his cycling ability. You could pay 2, cycle him away, draw a card, but also deal 1 damage to your opponent for each zombie in play you control. This making him a very good damage dealer and also give you a little bit of a draw while feeding your graveyard all at the same time. Diagraph Colossus, a true workhorse. We only run 2 of these, but a 2/2 body for 3 that also enters the battlefield with a 1/1 counter for each zombie in your graveyard. Well, not only does that synergize great with Gravecrawler, Relentless Dead, Gempalm Polluter, and some others we'll show you, but also the ability that every time you cast a zombie spell, you get to put a 2/2 zombie token onto the battlefield tapped. Well, that certainly is the definition of unrelenting horde. Lash, Heir to Blackblade. This is a fantastic zombie. We run 4 of these. This is a zombie that's power and toughness are equal to the amount of swamps you control. Now, that's good in general, but the fact that it also has a grandeur ability where if you already have 1 on the battlefield, you can discard 1 to another to search your library, put 2 swamps onto the battlefield tapped, not only giving you more mana for the late game, but also making your Lash stronger. When paired up with the fact that you have lords that will pump him even further, and that he has regenerate, he becomes a true threat immediately. Zombie Master. We run 2 of these. This is a fantastic card, a 2/3 body for 3, which gives all zombies Swamp Walk and the ability to regenerate themselves for 1 black. This zombie, when paired up with another card we'll show you later, essentially lets you walk all over your opponent. Now we're going to start getting into some of those zombie lords. We're going to start with Lord of the Accursed. We only run 1 of these. This is a 2/3 body for 3. Other zombies you control get +1/+1, pumping all of the rest of your army. But also, 1 colorless, 1 black, tap Lord of the Accursed, and all zombies gain Menace till end of the turn, which is fantastic when you're trying to just take that final turn sweep. Next on our list, we have Death Baron, my personal favorite. We run 4 of these. A 2/2 body for 3, but all skeleton and zombie creatures you control get +1/+1 and have death touch. Now, if that isn't a threat right there, I don't know what it is. Lord of the Undead. We run 4 of these. Probably the most important lord we have in this deck. A 2/2 body for 3, all zombies get +1/+1, and most importantly is you could pay 1 colorless, 1 black, tap Lord of the Undead. Return target zombie card from your graveyard to your hand. This has fantastic synergy with Gem Bomb Polluter and Core Lash, which lets you truly exploit their abilities for your benefit. Undead War Chief, or Beef Chief here at the Lotus Society. We run 4 of these. This is a 1/1 body for 4. However, this zombie makes all your zombie spells cost 1 less. Also, all zombies you control get +2/+1. This card right here very quickly pumps your army, not only out to the battlefield, but also makes even the smallest zombie a threat immediately. Mikus the Unhallowed. Definitely the most expensive lord we have. We only run 1 of these at 6 mana, but it does come with a 5/5 body with Intimidate. That right there makes it a problem if your opponent doesn't control a black creature or an artifact creature. It also has the ability, whenever a human deals damage to you, destroy it. And other non-human creatures you control get +1/+1 and have Undying. This makes all other zombies on the board a threat even after they've died, because they'll immediately come back with a 1/1 counter. And don't forget, they're still going to get bonuses from all of the lords on the board.
Now that you've seen the endless ranks of the dead that are going to come and destroy your opponents, let's take a look at the enchantments that support them. We'll start with, well, Endless Ranks of the Dead. We run 1 of them in this deck. It's kind of an expensive enchantment at 4 mana, but its power is crazy. The bigger your army is, the more powerful it is. At the beginning of your upkeep, you take half the number of zombies you have, and you put that into the battlefield. So if you have 4 zombies, you now have 6 zombies. If you have 6 zombies, you now have 9 zombies. And it just keeps growing and growing. You can see how powerful this will get. From there we go to the Call to the Grave. We run 1 of this enchantment, and boy is it powerful. It costs a lot at 5, but what you get is amazing. At the beginning of each player's upkeep, they're going to sacrifice a creature. That's not a zombie. Well, you run nothing but zombies with this deck, so you don't ever have to sacrifice a creature. Unless you're going up against another zombie deck, your opponent most likely doesn't have any zombies, so they're going to keep sacrificing their creatures over and over again. The only downside to this is if there's no creatures on the battlefield, you have to sacrifice Call to the Grave. But at that point, you've achieved what you wanted anyway by destroying your opponent's army. Following our enchantments, we're going to go to our sorceries and instants. Starting here, we have Essence Harvest. We run 2 of them. It's kind of a weird card to add to this, but as you saw, there's a ton of lords, so you're going to get some really powerful creatures pretty quickly, especially Core Lash, Heir to the Blackblade. You're going to keep granduring him, getting more swamps, making him more and more powerful, adding all the bonuses from your lords, and then you cast Essence Harvest. Target player loses X life and you gain X life, where X is the greatest power among creatures you control. And like we just said, they're going to be huge. That's a lot of damage and a lot of life gain for only 3 mana. Now, what black deck doesn't run Creature Destroy? Here we have 3 Go for the Throats. We don't have a lot of Creature Destroy because you have a really powerful zombie army, and that's going to do a lot of the work for you, but it's good to have some targeted removal. And this destroys anything that's not an artifact, which is most creatures. And for 2 mana, that's pretty powerful. So, what made those zombies raise from the dead to destroy your opponents? Well, Dark Ritual, of course. And we run 3 of them. It's a very simple instant. For 1 mana, you get 3 swamps. That'll allow you to play most of this deck on turn 1. Get you a lot of power and a lot of speed for a little bit of mana. Now, what are we going to use to support those Dark Rituals? Well, 17 swamps, of course. It's simple, it's basic, it gets the job done. But you don't need a whole lot of extra stuff, so swamps will do the job. Now, of course, we don't just run swamps. We do have a couple non-basics, and we're going to start with Unholy Grotto. We run only one of it, but it does have a pretty good ability. It taps for 1 colorless mana, but the real power here is tapping 1 swamp and tapping it and putting target zombie card from your graveyard on top of your library. Now, if you remember with the creatures, we had some lords that already did this, as well as a planeswalker that did this, so we don't really need to run too many of the Unholy Grottos, but you could feel free to up it to 2 or 3 if you feel more comfortable. Now, following Unholy Grotto is my favorite land in this deck. Herborg, Tomb of Yawgmoth. It has a great ability. It turns each land into a swamp in addition to its other land types. So that makes all lands tap for black mana, including the Unholy Grotto. But what's interesting about it is if you remember back when we were showing you the Lords, we talked about a little creature called Zombie Master. It gives all your zombies swamp walk. And now that you played Herborg, your opponents have a whole lot of swamps, making it so you have an unstoppable horde of zombies that they can't block.
So now you've seen the unrelenting horde that is the Lotus Society's tabletop zombie deck. Will this deck win a tournament? Absolutely not. Will this deck be a blast to play with your friends? Absolutely. You've seen how in just a few short turns you can quickly build up an army of the dead. How even a few turns later you can have double that. Or eventually just an endless amount of zombie horrors. So for that reason, we hope you enjoyed our deck tech on the zombies. We hope you have a great holiday. Happy Halloween.